Today's lesson will work on our intermediate course and unit 12, and here second part 12.2, how to persuade and influence people. And our goals here are talk about persuading people, understand and use reported questions, vocabulary and reading, persuading people. 1. Look at the advertisements for a book. What kind of book is it? Pause the video and try to do this exercise on your own. And now let's look at the possible answer. Well, as you see, it is about the book that can teach you persuasion and influence techniques, how to change people's minds, how to manipulate people, how to get people to do the things that you want from them to do, and other sneaky techniques, strategies that you can use to, well, control people. Well, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good book because it's not moral. It's not, well, not about morality. It's not effective way of communicating. It's not a way effective way of interacting with people, because at the end they just understand that you manipulated them and your your relationship gets destroyed. Exercise 2A. Read the advertisement for the book. What would you expect to read in the book? Pause the video and try to answer this question in a written form. And now let's look at the suggested answer. So the suggested answer is the book probably includes examples of people who have been successful in influencing others, tips and advice, and exercises to practice them. Exercise 2B. What kind of person might want to or feel the need to read this book? Would you read it? Why? Why not? Pause the video and try to answer these questions on your own in a written form. And now let's check the possible answers. People who would perhaps read this if they work in business, have to take part in discussions and decision making. People who work in sales would also be possible buyers. And my personal question is, would you read Why Not? Well, actually I would read it because I am a business person, I'm a manager, and I have to know how to talk to people, how to use the most effective ways of delivering the message. I have already read such books, 4 or 5 of them. There are Scott Adams books, Win Bigly, and Robert Cialdini's book, Influence and 50 proven ways of getting to yes. Such books, they are quite useful, but as I said before, it's not a good long-term way of dealing with people. You can work in short term, it can work in yearly terms. If you're expecting to work with a person or just communicate and have this person in your life for a year or more or less, it can work. But if you are intending to build relationships that can last 20, 30, 40 years, it is the worst thing that you could do to a person, because if you manipulate them, you win. But it will hurt you on the long term, because they will not trust you anymore after realizing that they have been manipulated by you. Exercise 3A. The 2 phrases on the list mean to persuade or influence someone. Find 4 more phrases in the information in the advertisement that mean the same thing and add them to the list. Pause the video and try to do this exercise on your own. And now let's look at the answers. The first one is they get your own way. Convince someone you're right. And get people to see things your way. A particular method, style, or manner of doing something. To bring somebody around. Here, to persuade somebody to agree with your opinion. Win somebody over. To persuade somebody to support or agree with you. To overcome objections. To manage to control or defeat somebody. Exercise 3B. Complete the questions with the 6 phrases in exercise 3A. Pause the video and try to use the words in exercise 3A to fill the gaps. And now let's look at the answers. 1. How important is it for you to get your own way? 2. If someone doesn't like you at first, do you try to win them over? Why not? 3. If someone disagrees with you, are you usually able to see things from their point of view? 4. If you argue with a friend, will they usually bring you around to their way of thinking, or will you convince them you're right? 5. What do you think is the best way to overcome someone's objections to an idea? Exercise 3C. Work with a partner, ask and answer the questions. Pause the video and try to answer these questions in a written form. And now let's look at the possible answers. Well, it's not that important to get my own way because, well, I just want to work seeing the long term, and if I'm having conflict with a person or with ideas, I just tend to drop the person or ideas too, because on the long term I will not be able to sustain it, and anything unsustainable is not interesting to me. I don't want to have effort. I don't want to make effort in doing something. If something is done effortlessly, then it becomes the true art, then it becomes the true calling that you have to do. So trying to have your own way is just trying to manipulate the surrounding into your will, which will eventually lead to, failure because you cannot sustain it forever. 2. If someone doesn't like me at first, I don't try to win them over because, if it's meant to happen, they will come around because they will understand what kind of person I am. I think I'm not a bad person, and it's just time shows, because I don't have any interest in persuading people or pleasing people, because I'm just quite content with myself. And 3, if someone disagrees with you, are you usually able to see things from their perspective? I will try to do it because, objectivity is important, and everyone has emotions, everyone has bias, and I am also a biased person. That's why I first of all think critically of my thoughts first, my opinion first, and then if I see reason and logic in my ideas, then I try to look at their point of view. Exercise 4A. Read a short extract from the book. What different things could the assistant do to make a sale? Discuss with a partner. And here, I was in town recently in a menswear store. A smartly dressed man came in and the owner asked, can I help you? The man smiled and said in a very polite way, I'm looking for a Boss suit. I like the brand Boss. Do you sell Boss? The shop didn't sell Boss. So what would you do if you were the assistant? Pause the video and try to imagine the situation and try to find a way to get out of this problem. And now let's look at the possible answers. If I were an assistant in this situation, I would definitely try to show the disadvantages of the Boss brand, because if we don't sell Boss brand, so I have to show the Boss brand at the worst lengths and try to dissuade the person from liking, or just change the person's opinions on this Boss brand, and try to show an alternative that has more quality or more advantageous sides. Exercise 4B. Work with a partner, look at the suggestions 1 to 3 from the book and choose the best option. What would be the benefits or drawbacks of this solution? And here, 1, tells the customer that you don't sell Boss, but you know where he could find it. 2, says that you agree that Boss is a fine brand, and although you don't sell it yourself, you have something similar. 3, says that you agree Boss is a fine brand, and ask him what in particular he likes about. Pause the video and try to choose one option that you would think best suits the situation and circumstance. Now let's look at the possible answers. If I were a shop assistant, I wouldn't do this first one definitely, because I will just direct them to another shop and they would just leave. That's it. I didn't get any benefit. I don't get any benefit. I would try to do the third one and second one. Second one is quite straightforward way of persuading people, but third one can be more long-term strategy because you can ask his likes and you can just find, according to his preference, you can just find a better, superior product compared to boss. Exercise 3C, work with two pairs who have looked at different options and compare your ideas. Look at the author's solution on page 135. Grammar and listening, reported questions. Now we will learn new things about reported questions. Exercise 5A, listen to a review of the book on a radio program. Is the review positive or negative?
Audio 12.3.
So, Tanya, you've been reading our book of the week, How to Persuade and Influence People. Did you enjoy it?
Yes, actually. I thought it might be useful, but I didn't really expect to enjoy reading it. But it was really quite entertaining. There are a lot of personal stories by the author, and some of them are quite funny.
Can you give an example?
Well, the author probably tells the stories better, but there's one where a bird attacked the audience at a presentation.
Really?
Yes, the author had thought it would be a good idea to have a real owl in his presentation, but it escaped. Amazingly, he still got the job.
So, what did you actually learn from reading the book?
Well, there were some very useful tips for remembering people's names. He says that's important in getting people to trust you so that you can then influence them.
Oh, I'm not very good at remembering names. What were the tips?
To believe that you could do it, to listen carefully when the person first says their name, to use their name in the conversation, to look at their face and associate it with the name, and to write down their name and everything you can remember about them afterwards.
That sounds sensible. Have you got better at remembering names since you read the book?
Actually, I think I have. A bit, at least. It probably takes practice.
And what does the book say about persuading people?
Well, there's a lot of information. You'll have to read it, really. But probably the most important thing is to really listen to people and to ask questions to find out what's really important to them, what matters to them. When they see that you understand them, you'll be better able to influence or persuade them.
I guess that makes sense too. So, most important question, are you better at persuading people now?
I'm not sure. Ask me again in a few months.
I certainly will.
And now let's look at the answer. As you see, the review with positive. And exercise 5B, listen again and write down 7 questions that the presenter asked. Pause the video and try to do this exercise one more time. And now let's look at the answers. 1. Did you enjoy it? 2. Can you give me an example? 3. So what did you actually learn from reading the book? 4. What were the tips? 5. Have you got better at remembering names since you read the book? 6. What does the book say about persuading people? 7. Are you better at persuading people now? Exercise 6A. Read the information in the grammar focus box and complete 1 to 4. Pause the video and try to do the exercise on your own. Grammar focus. Reported questions. Reported questions also usually move 1 tense back to show that the words were said in the past. As a reported question is no longer a direct question, A, the word order is the same as in the statement. Where is he going? She asked it where he was going. B, we don't use auxiliaries. Where do you live? He asked it where I lived. And here the first one, example. When did you arrive? He asked it when I had arrived. 2. Where will you go? He asked it where I would go. Yes, no questions, use if or whether. Do you like reading? He asked if whether she liked reading. 3. Have you been to France? She asked whether I had been to France. And here 4 is, can I leave early? he asked whether he could leave early. Exercise 6b, rewrite 7 questions in exercise 5b as reported questions. An example here is, did you enjoy it? He asked if she had enjoyed it. Pause the video and try to do this exercise in a written form. Now, if you have finished, let's look at the answers. 1. He asked if she enjoyed it. 2. He asked if she could give him an example. 3. He asked what she had actually learned from reading the book. 4. He asked what tips there were. 5. He asked if she had got better at remembering names since she had read the book. 6. He asked what the book said about persuading people. 7. He asked if she was better at persuading people now. Exercise 7a, listen again and make notes about the answers to the questions in exercise 5b. Now you have to try to answer the questions that we recreated now. And now let's check the answers together. As you see, 1, she enjoyed it and found it quite funny at times. 2, she mentions an anecdote when the author had an owl in his presentation and job interview, but unfortunately it escaped. 3, tips for remembering people's names. 4, to use their name, write it down, and anything else you can remember about them afterwards. 5, yes, a bit, but it takes practice. 6, listen to people so that you know what matters to them, so that they can see that you understand them. 7, she's not sure, but will perhaps be in few months' time. Exercise 7b, take turns to report the questions and answers to a partner. Pause the video and try speaking part of this exercise. Exercise 8a, in the interview, Tanya says, but probably the most important thing is to really listen to people and to ask questions to find out what's really important to them. Now here, write 5 questions that could help you to understand someone else better, for example, about their family, their hobbies, etc. And the questions are, what do you get on best with? How do you like to relax? What's the most dangerous sport you have tried? Pause the video and try to do this exercise in a written form and make 5 questions. Exercise 8b, work with a partner, take turns to ask and answer your questions. Pause the video and try to do the speaking part of this exercise and ask your questions from your partner. Exercise 9, task, work with a new partner, tell them about your conversation, use reported speech and reported questions. And here example, I asked Maria what she usually did to relax. She said she enjoyed jogging, thought it was really good for getting rid of stress. That's the end of our today's lesson. See you in the next lessons.